So, I thought of this song and I want to play it for you because I think it is sort of our theme song for today. Okay, so you're not going to do it 1,000 times, but you're going to do something 4 times today. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going to be like, oh my God, I have to write some story 4 times. That's so hard, right? You might be thinking, I don't have a paper, I don't have a pencil, I don't have a notebook, and you're going to come up with lots of excuses. And take those excuses and throw them in the trash. There, I've said my piece. Also, I just think that when you write, it's not like you write a story and then you're like, I'm done. And then you go to the publisher and the publisher's like, yes, you are done. It's like anything. You don't go to a store and buy a pair of shoes. Like, you're like, oh, these are really nice shoes. And then buy them because then you might walk by and you go, whoa, but then there's these shoes. And you're going to be like, no, I want to try those on. So today you're going to try on a few different ideas for a story. And it's going to be the same story that you wrote yesterday, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. All right, so let me just show you what I mean. I'm going to take the story that I wrote yesterday, and I'm just going to change the beginning of the story. So you guys are going to be like, wait a second. Nancy told me to set some goals yesterday, and I had to write a new story with those goals in mind. But it occurred to me that for me, one of my goals was to just work on the lead. So I wrote my story about the day that I fell off the piano bench with dialogue. That was the way I was going to start my story. It was going to be, Nan, my mom called, what are you doing? And I'm playing the piano. Well, I can see that. Why are you upside down? That's how I'm starting my story, with dialogue. But there are 3 other ways for you to start a story. So there's 4 altogether. 1 is specifically with dialogue. 1 is action. 1 is internal thinking. And 1 is setting. So I'm going to go back to the dialogue. If you wrote your story yesterday, maybe you started it out this way. If you did, you're going to try something different today. Again, your story is something that happened, zeroing in a small moment, and you're going to explode that small moment, and you're going to think about something that happened. First this, then that, then this, and then finally that. So first I was sitting on the piano, then my mom called out to me, what are you doing? And then I told her I was playing the song with my, I didn't tell her this, but I was playing the song with my feet, and then I fell off the piano bench. Then my mom came in, and then I kind of just ended it because I decided that that was kind of a funny way for me to end it, with me thinking, yeah, she knows exactly what I'm doing. Again, my mother asking me questions that she always knows the answers to. I decided I was going to start my story in a different way. This time, I'm starting the same story. So here's the thing. My 12-year-old self used to sit for hours on end playing that old upright piano, but this time I'm going to start it out with action. When I was 12, I decided to play the piano with my feet. I sat down on the cherry wooden bench, the one that opened up that had the sheet music inside. I bent my body backwards so that my head was touching the floor, and with my sockless feet, proceeded to hammer out the nursery rhyme with my toes. That is action that is happening in the story. You're picturing the movement of the person sitting, bending, putting their feet up on the piano, and actually playing it with their feet. So in this particular case, everything else in my story is staying the same. The only thing that's changing is the beginning. I can also try internal thinking. Now, instead of starting it out with dialogue or starting it out with action, I might start it out with me just thinking and reflecting. I never really told anyone this, but I thought I was going to grow up and be a famous singer. I would be like the lead singer in a rock and roll band. I would play the piano when I sang and everyone would cheer. I thought that that was what I wanted. I thought it would be really cool. Sometimes I wanted to do something so unique and so spectacular that people would watch and listen and wonder. How silly it seems now to think that way when so much more is important. But I forgive myself knowing that I have learned a great deal about life since then. The life lessons have led me to do great and unnoticed things that are far better. One life lesson was learned early on. You just don't play the piano upside down with your feet. End of story. and then I go into my story. So here's the thing, and it works. So all I did was change the way I started my story by doing a little bit of maybe dialogue, maybe action, maybe internal thinking. I can also set my story up with a description of the setting. In my living room, there were a couple of sofas, a chair, a fireplace, lots of French windows with views of the street and of my backyard, and most importantly, there was a piano. It wasn't anything special, that old Wurlitzer. In fact, it was a used piano that my parents rented and ultimately bought. It had scratches on it, it was usually out of tune, and it looked like it belonged in a junkyard more than a room where people gathered to celebrate birthdays and host cocktail parties. But to me, that piano was everything. It was my lifeline. It was every hope and dream I had ever conjured up in my mind. It was a way into the future. It was more a part of me than my own limbs. So here's the thing. My 12-year-old self used to sit for hours on end, and then I go into my story. Do you see how with a little bit of dialogue or action or internal thinking or setting, I can change the way I want my readers to be roped into my story? What I want you to do today is I want you to take the story that you loved from yesterday, and please, please don't tell me that you didn't do it, because I'm going to be not happy. And you should be unhappy with yourself if that was what happened yesterday. You just decided not to do it. Because remember, everything that we do, we're building. It's like anything. You build a building and you start with a really solid foundation and you continue to build on it until you have this big spectacular building. If you don't have a solid foundation, the building is going to fall and it's going to just implode, or God only knows what's going to happen to your writing journey. Okay? So you're going to think about your story from yesterday and you're going to change how you start it with a little bit of dialogue, maybe a little bit of action, maybe a little bit of internal thinking, and maybe a little bit of setting. You can try 3 out of the 4. If you really want to be ambitious, try all 4 of them. But don't just say, oh, I tried 1 and I'm done. Okay? Because you might look at your story and say, you know what? It sounds a lot better. Because if I'm being honest with you, I really like the setting version of my story. I like it better than the dialogue. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try to combine them. I don't know yet. But right now, I like the fact that I tried on a couple of pair of shoes. I think I found one that I really like. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Easy for you to say. Have a beautiful day, my friends.